Imagine walking down a quiet street in the French countryside. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, and everything looks peaceful. But then you look closer. You see a car parked by the curb, rusted and falling apart. It looks like it's been waiting for its driver for 80 years. You see a sewing machine sitting in a window, covered in dust, exactly where someone left it in the middle of a stitch. You see cafes with tables still set, but no customers. This isn't just an abandoned place. This is a crime scene that has been frozen in time since 1944. Welcome to Oradour-sur-Glane, the ghost village of France. On this channel, we explore a lot of places that were left behind because of money issues, natural disasters, or just people moving away. But Oradour is different. Nobody moved away from here. On a warm Saturday afternoon, June 10, 1944, life here didn't just fade away, it was stopped. Instantly. Today, we are going to walk through these streets to understand what happened and why the French government decided that this village should never be rebuilt and never be cleaned up. They wanted it to stay exactly like this, forever. To understand the tragedy, you have to picture what this place was like before the silence. It was a bustling, happy community. It was a Saturday, so people were out and about. There was a tram line that connected the village to the big city of Limoges. The shops were open. People were having lunch. It was widely known as a peaceful place where the war felt far away. They even had a lot of refugees from other parts of France staying here because it was considered safe. Everyone felt secure. But that safety was an illusion. Around 2 p.m., the sound of trucks broke the silence. A division of the German SS army surrounded the town. At first, the villagers weren't panicked. They were told to gather in the town square for a simple identity check. It seemed routine. The mayor even offered to be a hostage to keep things calm. But the soldiers weren't there to check papers. They were there to send a message. Within minutes, the men were separated from the women and children. The men were led into barns and garages, while the women and children were marched up the hill to the village church. This is the part of the story that is hardest to tell. The soldiers set up machine guns in the barns where the men were held. On a signal, they opened fire. They aimed for the legs to make sure the men couldn't run, but wouldn't die instantly. Then, they set the barns on fire. Only a handful of men managed to escape the flames by pretending to be dead and crawling out later. One of them, a man named Robert Hebres, spent the rest of his life telling people what he saw that day. He said the confusion was the worst part. Nobody understood why this was happening to them. Meanwhile, nearly 500 women and children were locked inside the church. The soldiers placed a box of explosives inside and ignited it. When the smoke cleared and people tried to escape through the windows and doors, the soldiers were waiting outside with guns. The entire village was systematically looted and burned to the ground. By the end of the day, 642 people were dead. The youngest was a baby only a week old. The village that had been full of life at lunchtime was a smoking ruin by dinner. After the war ended, there was a big debate. Should they rebuild the homes? Should they tear it all down and plant a forest? Charles de Gaulle, the French leader, made a famous decision. He said no. He ordered that a new village be built nearby, but the old Oradour-sur-Glane must remain untouched. He declared it a Martyr Village. The idea was that future generations needed to see with their own eyes what happened. If they cleaned it up, people might forget. But if they left the burned walls, the crushed bicycles, and the melted clocks, nobody could ever deny the horror of that day. Walking through here today is a very heavy experience. There are signs everywhere that just say, silence. And people actually listen. You don't hear loud talking or laughing. You just hear the wind blowing through the roofless houses. You see the metal bed frames rusted into the floor. You see the soot stains that are still on the stone walls from the fire in 1944. It is one of the most preserved, abandoned places on Earth because it is maintained to look abandoned. It takes a lot of work to keep a ruin from falling down completely, but they do it to keep the memory alive. We visit abandoned places to see the beauty in decay, or to wonder about the people who used to live there. But Oradour-sur-Glane forces us to do something else. It forces us to remember that peace is fragile. This isn't just a spooky location, it's a physical scar on the landscape of France. It stands as a warning. As long as these walls stand, the story of the 642 people who lived here will never really disappear. If you ever find yourself in this part of France, I highly recommend you visit. Just remember to respect the silence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next exploration.